This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Life Transformation is heard in over 90 countries. Thank you for joining us from all around the world. If it's your first time joining us, or you've been listening to Life Transformation Radio for some time, I want to personally thank you. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about regal life, love, the power of positivity, romance, and of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose. We celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. On the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today does just that. Today, Urmi Hossain and I discuss being unique in your own way. If you want to understand that life is a learning process, embrace your uniqueness and be comfortable with the uncomfortable, this is the show for you. Urmi is Italian, Bengali, living in Canada. Urmi always lived not fitting in any of the two cultures she grew up in until she finally found her identity. She wanted to inspire the people that there is no need to fit a box. You can create your own world. She likes to live by this quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world," by Gandhi. She is changing the world by her actions by just volunteering, blogging, and YouTubing. She loves pasta and coffee, and her name means wave. Urmi thinks life is like a wave. You just need to know how to swim to get away from the obstacles. Urmi, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here today.
Absolutely. The wonders of modern technology. I love it. It's just so great. I get to talk to people from all over the world. I'm in Arizona. You're in Canada. I don't know what happened, but it was warm yesterday, and today it's cold. It's like 50-something degrees. So I don't know if you're sending cold weather my way or not, but come on now. I live in Arizona for a reason. I like the warm weather.
Probably I am, because it did snow yesterday. But today it's a bit better, so.
Wow. Okay,
hopefully the spring is coming.
That's a big variety of cultures, Bengali and Italian. So what was that like first of all, just give me an overview of what it means to be Italian. I'm Italian. And then what it means to be Bengali. And then let's see how those cultures collide.
Okay, so to tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit how you mentioned it in the introduction, I consider myself Italian Bengali, and I often tell people I am Italian by birth, Bengali by blood, because basically my parents are from Bangladesh and they moved to Italy many years ago. They moved after they got married. They wanted to settle down to a new place and start a new life. And my dad often, he tells me, because I was born in Italy, and he often tells me, "Urmi, you're the first Bengali girl being born in Italy." So when he tells me that, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm a piece of history. I guess I should be very proud about it. Because back in the days, there were not that many people from Bangladesh. And the few people that were there, they knew each other. So I was born in Italy. I lived in Italy my whole life before I moved to Canada. And to answer your question, when you say what does it mean to be Italian, for me to be Italian means many things. One of them is, being a lover of pasta, being a lover of the Italian language, loving coffee, and what it means to be Bengali. I always think about the beautiful traditional dresses that we have, saris, and every time I look at those dresses and I wear them, I feel like a princess myself, because they make you look like a princess. They are super decorated. So these are the two things that come to my mind every time I think about these two cultures.
I love it. So what is it about not fitting in that you had to experience?
So as I mentioned, I was basically the first Bengali girl to be born in Italy, and often in times I didn't see people like me when I would go to school. Like all my friends, they were all Italian. So when I would be around them, I felt I was Italian, but then it made me really conscious that I wasn't looking like them. That when I would go back home, I had to go back to a different world, which was the Bengali culture. So my whole life, I grew up wondering, where am I? Am I Bengali? Am I Italian? And when people would approach me and they would be like, where are you from? There was always a silence because I was like, I'm not sure what to tell people. I'm really not sure if I should say I'm Bengali, if I should say Italian. And when I would say I'm Italian, people would just stare at me and be like, no, you don't look Italian. And then if I would say Bengali, they would be like, hold on a second, but you have an Italian accent. What's going on there? So, and every time I would have to spend probably like 10 minutes just explaining this whole history of like, yeah, I'm Italian, Bengali, this and that. And then finally, I was like, you know what? I don't need to explain this to people. I can just say I'm Italian, Bengali, and I don't need to fit in any of the two words. I can just create my own world of Italian, Bengali people because there are so many like them that I'm sure they all feel the same way of. Okay, so basically, when people would ask me like, "Where are you from?" I would never sure what to answer, and often in times I would like always be in silent because I was like, which nationality am I telling to these people? Am I saying I'm Bengali? Am I saying I'm Italian? And then after like few years of reflection, I was like, you know what? I don't have to explain this to anyone. I'm just gonna say I am Italian Bengali because I embrace both culture. I represent both cultures, and there are more people like me that I'm sure they're all feeling the same way. Because after my generation, there were more and more people moving from Bangladesh and from other countries like India and Pakistan, and more kids were born in Italy where they all grew up in the same way as me, going to an Italian school, but then coming back and feeling, I have to fit this other world. But you don't need to fit any world. You can just create your own one, and that's enough.
Nice. Were you bullied because of the differences?
No. Luckily, I was never bullied. Honestly, I had a very great childhood in Italy. I never felt I was marginalized. I had supporting friends and very encouraging me. And the thing that I appreciate the most about my whole childhood and teenagehood is that even though all my friends were Italian, they always made an effort to understand me and to understand my cultures and to understand also all the barriers and all the obstacles that I was going through. So, for instance, they would ask me like, oh, do you want to go out and play with me? And I would always say no. But it wasn't because I didn't want to play. It was because my parents' mentality was so strict and severe that they didn't want me to, hang out with other people, just go out and have fun because they were so strict with me.
So you're very vivacious and you have a great spirit about you. And you've lived a pretty great life. Like you've lived a good life. You've not had a lot of upturns, not of downturns, just kind of a very even keel life. Is that accurate?
Yes and no, because I feel like it wasn't until a few years ago that I finally explored myself and finally found out my identity. Because if you asked me a few years ago, would you consider yourself Italian or Bengali? I would have never been able to answer you.
Right.
But now it's much more clear because all my life I've been told by people that were Bengali, they were like, you're Bengali. And people that were Italian, they would tell me, no, you're Italian. And I don't like when people dictate what my identity should be, because it shouldn't be really them telling me who I am. It should be just myself. And I went through this struggle of accepting myself and trying to understand really who I am. And I think a lot of the times it was because of these cultural barriers that I was going through. Because in the community that I am from, the Bengali community, a lot of the times people tend to be really judgmental about, especially when you're a woman. Like women are seen as a certain way. You're supposed to do certain things. For instance, you are supposed to dress a certain way. You're supposed to talk a certain way. You're supposed to behave a certain way. And often in times you don't allow a person to develop to the person they are meant to be. And I think that was the biggest struggle that I went my whole life, because I always followed what my parents taught me, even though I had other opinions and other views. Right. And often I also felt like I couldn't be myself because I couldn't express my own views about things, even though they weren't wrong. And because of this judgment, because I would always feel guilty, I felt like I never was true to myself, and I wasn't never the authentic myself. And it was only a few years ago that I was like, you know what? This is who I am. This is what I like. These are my passions. I'm just going to go along with it, even though I'm not meeting anyone's expectation of what a typical Bengali girl is supposed to be. So
was it kind of like a clash of cultures?
Exactly. That was a clash of a culture. Exactly. Yes.
Wow. And then you had a big transformation. So a few years ago, the world kind of shut down, and you somehow decided that you're just going to reinvent yourself.
Exactly. So before, when I was studying, so I did my studies in Canada when I was in university, I was someone who was energetic, full of life. I would do volunteering. I would go to public speaking clubs. And then I graduated and I started to work. And you know, when you start working, you're just like, yeah, all I'm going to do is work and that's it. And then I was like, you know what? No. I have to change that. I have to go back to the person that I was. And then, like you mentioned, when 2 years ago, the whole world went virtual, I was like, let me just think about my purpose and what I want to do in life. And I took this from my own experience, as I was feeling of not being accepted for who I am or not fitting the box. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a blog. I'm going to talk about finance because it's my passion. I'm going to talk about public speaking because I enjoy that. I'm going to also talk about myself and how it's important to find your identity, to be authentic, and to be representation for other people. So I created a blog, and it's mainly dedicated for women and girls that are like me, but also women in general, because finance is, anyone needs to know about finance. And then I decided to be part of different nonprofit organizations that were dedicated to help women, especially to empower women, because women often in times are marginalized, and we're not secure of ourselves. We don't feel confident. We're always like second guess. And I want to change that, because I feel like I was like that a few years ago. But now I feel like because I'm doing all these things, I became a bit more daring, a bit more stronger, bold. And then I decided to be part of the Toastmaster Club because I want to change the world using my voice. And lastly, I also created a YouTube channel where I finally talk about these things like finance, women's empowerment, public speaking. And I realized that it's only if I am in all this platform, it's only if I tell my story to people that I can inspire other people to make a change and to live their life in their own terms.
So do you feel like it was a caterpillar butterfly moment when the lockdown happened? All of a sudden you just reevaluated your life, and what allowed you to transform in such a magnificent way?
Yeah, so it is like you said, I became, I want to say, sort of like a butterfly, because I used to be very reserved and very shy. And I would, for instance, even just being on a podcast, it was out of my mind. I would have never thought, I never saw myself being invited to so many podcast shows because I'm very, very reserved. But this year I did so many. And And the whole struggle that I was going through, it was just with my own self, because I was like, I had all these dreams in my mind. I'm so ambitious, and I have all these like goals that I want to achieve, but you cannot do them just by watching other people and by not taking actions. So I told myself that, you know what? I want to achieve all these things. I better work on this. I better step up the game and just make sure that little by little, I start doing all these things. So I started to do all these things, and I got many, many feedback from many people saying, you're like so energetic, you're full of life, you're doing so many things. And actually, one of my professors told me, like ex-professor, she was like, you're a volcano, because you're like everywhere. And even my friends were telling me, you're literally like a celebrity. Every time I log in somewhere, your name is somewhere, your videos is somewhere. And this is amazing, even for myself. Like I am proud of myself. Like if I look at my younger version of myself, I would be very proud of the person that I am right now, because I am doing what's right for me, and I'm doing the things that I enjoy, and I like the transformation that I'm having, because it feels like I'm a better version of myself. Yes, that's what I am. I'm a better version of myself. And it's still a work in progress, because I know there is more that I can achieve.
Well, we're always a work in progress. So how did you just transform like that? Like, was it an overnight thing, or did it slowly build, or what was the decision making? What made you do that decision? Were you reevaluating life that, like, the world's shut down, I don't know how things are going to go, I want to make a difference? Did you reevaluate your life, or what did you do?
Yes, it was actually a very slow process. And it started for myself, and it started from the things that I used to do when I was in university. So for instance, a few years ago, I was not on LinkedIn. Like if you Google me, you would not find me. And I was not on LinkedIn. I was nowhere to be found. And it actually started with creating the LinkedIn profile. That was my first step, actually. That was my very, very first step. And as I was like writing all these things, my experience, my achievement, my project, I was like, I have good things that I can offer to people. So why was I shy all this time? Why was I hiding from the world? So it started from that. And that was the first step. And then as I was like on social media and looking at other people, I started to get inspired by other women who were in finance. And there was this woman in particular, her name is Sylvia Manent, and she's also very like known in the whole financial industry. And one day I watched one of her videos, and I reached out to her and I said, I want to learn a little bit from you. I want to know what you do. I want to know how you run your business. I want to know how you help other women. So the second step, it was my collaboration with her. And it also happened that I was invited on her YouTube channel to talk about my experience in finance and working in finance. And that was the second step that made me realize how much I enjoy speaking in front of a camera. And it was only thanks to her that I finally realized that, you know what, I really enjoy speaking to people. I enjoy speaking on the camera. And she told me that, you know what, there is something in you that you can teach to other people, because you have all these good skills like time management, public speaking, and you can use your time to help other people. So that was the second step. And then it just started to build off. Like I started to be part of all this organization. I started to email people. Like I was like, I don't know how to say,
volcano.
I was like trying to conquer the world. Yes, I was a volcano.
Nice.
I was
You're
trying
a volcano.
to conquer the
Exactly.
world. Yes, exactly. That's how it was, and it's just continuing the same path. I never stopped since then.
So one of the things you put down is that you finally realize that you don't need to live by what society dictates. So what exactly does that mean? Is society saying that you can't do everything that you're doing right now? Or is it culture-based?
Yes, it's culture-based. And I think it also applies in general to the whole society, and it applies to every woman. I think as a woman, you're often seen, to be at home, to be a housewife. People sometimes are not ready to see audacious and ambitious women conquering the world. And sometimes like you are supposed to be following that route of being a housewife and, you know, just being at home. And that's wrong because there are so many women out there of different color, different cultures. We all have different dreams and ambitions. And I think we should not follow one path because there is not one path. There are so many paths, you know. There are women that are in career. There are women that, you know, they want to become CEO. There are women that want to break the ceiling, women that run their own businesses. So there are so many things that makes, you know, this whole thing special. And I don't think we should really live by what the society dictates because it's just what the society thinks is normal. But honestly, what's normal? There are so many things that are normal, like to have a woman in career, that's normal too. That's a choice that she made in her life, and that's okay too. And we should really appreciate that we have people with so many goals and ambitions because it just makes everything so special and unique in its own way. So
I love it. Okay, so how does one become bold and fearless in their life?
That's a very interesting question. And I would say it's only when you are getting out of your comfort zone. When
Absolutely.
you start getting out of your that little bubble that you are part of, and you start doing things that you have never thought of, that's when you grow. That's when you become bold. That's when you become fearless and audacious. And I can tell you, it was also from my own experience because I remember when I first did my YouTube channel, I was super nervous and I told myself, that's it, this is the first one, I'm never doing this again. But after I did the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. I should just do more of this. And I've been doing this.
Yeah, and you're really comfortable. I saw your videos. Yeah, I saw your videos and you're very comfortable and you're fun and very engaging. And yeah, it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
And especially talking about finance because most people don't really want to talk about finance, and it's so important. So what are some things that you see? So where do you see you in 5 years? So it's 2022. Where are you in 2027?
So I see myself, there's so many things that I want to achieve. And when you ask me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I want to give you a list of things, like literally.
Give me a list. I want to know.
So first thing first, I hopefully in 5 years, I gave my first TED Talk because I've been wanting to.
First of all, I'm
going to
correct you. I'm going to correct you on that. I'm not going to let you say hopefully. In 5 years, you're declaring, where do you see yourself? No, hopefully. I want to know what you're going to do in 5 years.
So in 5 years, I'm giving a TED Talk. That's correct.
Nice.
I think. I'm giving a TED Talk. I've written a book about me because it's in my plan, and I know by 5 years it's going to be done.
Awesome.
Then I will be a successful woman in finance. That's for sure. And I know I will achieve that. And I will make sure that I'm breaking the ceiling by being in a very high upper management role. And hopefully, I hope I have also visited South America by 5 years because it's my goal to visit South America and just to admire the beauty of South America. I just love the whole culture of South America. And I love when people speak Portuguese and Spanish. It's just so like mesmerizing and music to my ears. So these are 4 goals that I have for my 5-year plan.
I love it. I love it. What's your why? Why do you get up every morning? Why do you do what you do?
It's because I want to be the change in the world. Like the quote that you mentioned initially, and my motivation is you have to lead by example. If you want to lead change, you have to be your own advocate. And this is my why. I want to change the world. I want to make things better. I believe in so many things like women empowerment and gender equality. And I can only do this if I work on this stuff. So that's really my why. And funny thing is, I have a lot of people telling me, how do you do all these things? Where do you find the time? And my tip is you will always find time for the things that you love, no matter what. No excuses.
Absolutely.
So that's really my why,
Absolutely.
my biggest motivation.
I love it. I love it. Well, Urmi, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. If you want to reach out to her, you can reach her at myways.ca. And thank you so much for being a guest today on Life Transformation Radio.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your support and taking the time out of your busy and precious day to listen. So appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along with my very special guests, to touch your heart, move your soul, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.